Today on the show, we've got Cathy Domoney, who is a author, life coach and mindset coach with a focus on empowering women and women in leadership. Cathy has been on TED Talks and numerous outlets in the media and has won a few awards along the way. She also looks after a big family too, so I definitely know that she's good at multitasking. Whilst Cathy is very successful in her life and helping others achieve their goals, I want to dig deeper today as to what her challenges are or were and how she overcame them to become the person she is today. So, yeah, looking forward to the chat. Welcome to the Redesign Your Mind YouTube channel and podcast, where we have real conversations around mental health, self-improvement, and how we can find more meaning in our lives. I'm your host, Stefan Moralia. You can watch episodes here, or you can listen to the podcast on iTunes or Spotify. The show and any video uploads are loosely inspired by my book, Redesign Your Mind, Tools and Inspiration for Positive Mental Health, which is available on Amazon, Kindle, iTunes, and Audible. Please refer to the description below for more information, including my socials, a disclaimer, and how you can get in contact with me. Thanks for watching and joining me on the journey to redesign your mind. Thanks for joining me today on the Redesign Your Mind podcast. We've known each other for a few years now, so I'm really looking forward to this chat. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Very good. So I said in the intro that you've got quite a few things on the go. So tell me or tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what makes up a typical day in the life of Cathy Domoney.
How long have you got? So I've got 5 children at home, and my husband is fly in, fly out. So there's that in itself is hugely challenging if parents know what I'm talking about, and particularly FIFO parents will know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's pretty full on. And obviously 3 of my children have ASD. So that's quite amazing and wonderful because they think differently and they present themselves to the world differently, and they're quite incredible, and they've taught me an awful lot about human nature and the way the mind works and the potential of what young people can do, which is pretty incredible. But there are sort of challenges with that, like social challenges and things. So we've worked really, really hard. So that a lot of my time is taken with that because my youngest is 3 and she's quite severely autistic. So she's nonverbal. So a lot of my days is getting her to communicate, and we've been using sign and stuff. So that takes up quite a bit of my day. So typical day starts about 5:30, and I make time for meditation because mummy needs to be well. In order for the whole thing to work, I'll have a mutiny on my hands. I always make time for meditation and first thing in the morning to set myself up for the day, and then it's stop, drop and roll, get everybody to school, and then just what it's like. The days go past and you think, my goodness, that was a busy day, and I carve out time for my business and I carve out time for my growth as well. So I'm always learning. I've always got a mentor. I'm always doing the inner work myself. And at the moment, for example, I'm decorating as well. So I've literally just stopped, dropped and rolled and been to Aldi, and I've been to Bunnings and got more paint, and now I'm on my interview. So it's all glamour this end. It's very, very glamorous.
No, I love it. You're an inspiration. I mean, just that intro there. So many listeners and even myself, we just think, wow, how do you get that all done day in, day out? And before we even delve into that, what I love is that you said, you're a life coach yourself, but you've still got a mentor and you still do these practices day in, day out, and your day starts with meditation and it starts with this routine. So I guess what what have you seen in your own life that has really proven to you that meditation and starting with those practices and even having that mentor yourself has really helped you with your own growth and mental health?
Absolutely. I mean, I've always danced with depression and anxiety myself. So I've always had to show up for myself
Mm-hmm.
and do the work,
Yeah.
because I do believe that all symptoms, everything that happens within our body, within our mindset, within our, everything is a symptom of something.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm struggling, if I've got a cold, I'm thinking, okay, my vibration's down. Why is my vibration down? What do I need to do here? What do I need to address? And it's very much about self-reflection. And if things on the outside aren't going the way that you're wanting them to, what's going on the inside?
Yeah.
Right? Because we can't be going out, if we're going out blaming everything else for all of our experiences, is going to constantly bring us experiences that we don't want.
Yes.
If we're seeing the reflection of what's happening on the outside and we're going, okay, what does that mean for me?
Mm-hmm.
What's out of whack for me here? What do I need to work on in order to reset this part of my life? And we take responsibility for it, and taking responsibility for it, even the bad stuff, is empowering, right? Because we
Yes.
can go, okay, I've got some control over this, and even if outside events aren't wrapped up in the way that we would like, it's always bringing us an opportunity for growth, and it's always bringing us a lesson that we need to learn. And unless we do that deep dive and learn that lesson, it's going to keep coming to us. It's like the difficult person in your life that keeps coming in different people, but that
Yes.
same difficult personality keeps showing up and showing up and showing up until you do that work through it, and go, okay, I need to raise my standards here, or I need to put some boundaries in, or I need to honor myself enough to not put up with this. And then for my energy is going to change, my interactions are going to change, my aura is going to change, and this person will just disappear out of my life. So it's really about showing up and doing that work. And as particularly as a life coach, as I am, if I can't expect my clients to do the work if I'm not doing the work. Do
Yeah.
you know what I
Spot
mean?
on.
It's not a one-stop shop fix. It's a everyday new habits, new practices, carving out time for your spiritual life, your mindset, your whole well-being holistically. We need to get more in balance, and we need to honor every part of ourselves in order to be successful.
Oh, I love that. And there's so much to unpack there, but just starting, as young people, we find that, or I was definitely guilting myself of thinking, oh, I can't be anxious or depressed and still be a success, or I can't be good at my job, or can't, project confidence. If I'm feeling anxious or depressed, and I believe that that's a load of crap, and that's one
Mm,
of those false things that we put onto ourselves. And like you said, you've faced these challenges with anxiety and depression, yet here you are as a life coach, here you are as a mother, for 5 kids and a role model, for women leaders around the world. So um, that's what I love about what you're doing, that you don't shy away from these things. And that's one thing I'd say for anyone listening, that it's okay to be anxious or depressed, and deal with these challenges whilst also moving on with your life.
absolutely. I mean, having mental health challenges and being successful are not mutually exclusive things. Do you know what I mean? You
And
can
I
have
thought they
both.
were. I thought they
Yeah,
were.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But look at it this way. If I'm going to go and visit Greece, I want to talk to someone who's been to Greece. I don't want to talk to someone who's read a book about visiting Greece. So as a life coach, people come to me and I can genuinely say, I've been where you are. I've been in the dark hole. I've
Yeah.
managed to get myself out. Let me shine a light for you to get out easier than my struggle was. Do you know what I mean? So who do you want to show up in your life? Someone who actually can relate to what you're saying and can say, yeah, I get it, but you can do these things and it is okay. And give yourself permission to step into your power, and et cetera, et cetera. You want someone who can actually relate to what you're talking about, not someone who's just got the theory of it.
100%. And that was another reason why I wrote my book, because I was reading a lot of books about mental health and getting through depression written by psychologists from the 1980s, and they had no understanding, and not that they should have, but they had no understanding of what I was going through. And that's why you're so good at what you do, because you've experienced it and you've lived it, and you're not scared to own it as well. And I think that's something really empowering from a mental health point of view as well. When I first face these challenges, I would, push it down and sweep it under the rug and try not to imagine it was there, and it just gets worse. And I guess that ties in with some of your manifest coaching as well. What you can manifest, and I've got a vision board, and for me, it's something I'm looking at it now. Really important to me that you put it out there to the universe. And some people think that the secret and putting things out to universe is a bit airy fairy, but since I've started doing it, I've noticed changes in my attitude and also what happens. And I think that ties in, and I'd like to hear more about what you think on this, but it ties in with whether you have those negative thoughts and what's wrong, and focus your energy there, compared to, okay, well, I've got these challenges, but these are things going right in my life. These are the things I want to achieve. Let's go for it. And let's still work on our mental health and acknowledge our challenges, but we need to manifest and create this mindset and this life. And that's what Redesign Your Mind, the book and the podcast, is all about. So definitely like to hear more on that from you.
Well, there's a couple of things I'll say about that, and one of which is, when you're asking for stuff from the universe, the answers to your prayers, if you want to call them prayers, often come in ways that you weren't expecting. Okay, so the gift is coming wrapped in a completely different way to what you wanted. Yeah, so you couldn't have planned it. Like for us, on the website it says I went from a redundant to abundant. It's because my husband lost his job and we were redundant for 10.5 months.
Yeah, wow.
And that was super hard, because we just got our home finally, because we were immigrants, and we just managed to get back on the property ladder, and we nearly lost our home, and it was a really, really stressful time. But with it came the most amazing growth and the most amazing gifts.
Yeah.
So what I distinguish, and I did a bit of a live on this the other day, is that I've written a book series for children called the Positive Mindset for Kids series, not the Positive Thinking for Kids series. Now, there is a distinct difference with that. So the positive thinking, I think, can be detrimental to your growth. Okay, because if we're just putting band-aids on everything, and we're not working through it and learning the lessons and doing that deep dive work, it's never going to evolve for us. It's always going to stay stuck. Okay. So positive thinking, I'm not a huge fan of. Positive mindset, I am a huge fan of. So for me, positive mindset is, I'm going through a really tough time right now. I can't see the end of it. Like, I'm in a really dark place. Okay. And this was me in the redundancy, even though I was like, every day I had to bring it back to gratitude. My kids are fed, they're in warm, dry beds, they've got clean clothes, they're in the family that love them, they're healthy. Yeah, that's how I had to strip it back to the bare minimum, because we were in pretty much crisis for 10.5 months. Like, how are we going to feed them and all that sort of thing. But positive mindset allowed me to acknowledge everything that wasn't going right. Okay. Enabled me the opportunity to have perspective of being super grateful for the things that were going right, and they were super basic right then. It was like, my kids have got food in their bellies, even though it's beans on toast or whatever it was. They are loved, they are safe, they're in their beds, it's all good.
Yes.
And positive mindset gave me the ability to see that there was a possibility of this passing. And so what I used to say to myself during the times, and I would wake up with fists, right? I was so stressed. I would wake up with fists, and I'd have to hang them out of bed in the morning for the blood to start circulating in my hands. Okay, it was a really tough time. But I would think to myself, this is just a chapter in my success story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I love that.
You know what I mean? So that's positive mindset, you know, entertaining the idea, the possibility that it can get better. 100%. Not pretending that everything's good now. Do you know what I mean? And that there's that difference. I think we need to allow ourselves the whole human experience.
Yeah, and I want to jump in there. Two things that stand out. The way I see what you're mentioning there is that, you know, we're still going to have negative thoughts. So when you say positive thinking, I feel like there's that pressure that if you have a negative thought, oh no, it's bad, I'm not positive thinking anymore. Whereas a mindset is the negative thought can still come in, but you've got that mindset to address it and then, you know, focus on what you're moving forward with. So for me, that's about, you know, like you said there, focusing on that. I don't know. And then even with regards to what you said at the end there with, you know, how you guys pushed on and you had that stress and still had to push on. I forgot what I was going to say now. But the third thing I was going to ask was, you know, what would you say to then people that were going through this with COVID now? So, you know, they're literally in the trenches like you are. What would you say to them about what they can do to start to manifest and move forward with their life?
Well, it's a very challenging time for a lot of people out there right now. And, you know, it's a very complex situation to navigate through. Yeah. Because you're not just like when we went through it, it was just us. Yes. Like everybody else around us was flourishing. It was just us going through it. So although it was sort of hard to watch everybody else flourishing at some times, you know, when you're like thinking, I didn't have the collective consciousness to deal with as well. Yeah. Whereas at the moment, people are going through personal challenges and they're also subject to their neighbors' challenges and the nation's challenges. And do you know what I mean? That's a massive thing to navigate through, because it can be hugely overwhelming and you know, very, very stressful. So look, all I can do is speak to my own experience. So when I went through it, I did sort of cocoon myself a little bit. I mean, I'm that person that doesn't watch the news. Like I pick up highlights. If I need to donate something, I'll donate something, but I can't cope because I'm an empath. So I cannot cope with a negative barrage of everything that's going wrong in the world. It will make me ill. Yeah. So I'm very protective of my zone, where we just, you know, have a very big filter on at home. Yeah. So I would suggest, you know, unplug from the news. Number one, it's so important to protect your mindset, your energy, your situation, you know. And it's not saying you don't care about what's happening outside, but unless you can get yourself in a strong place, you're not in a situation where you can help anybody anyway.
Well, it's right? Like with the news thing you said there that, you know, it's just on repeat. It's the same crap hour and hour after each other. And you know what? You can watch the headlines if you feel you really need to, but that's enough. And the media really, you know, digging in with this, and they're building on our fears. So that's a great first point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to protect yourself. Yeah. I think, you know, in these situations, gratitude can be counterintuitive when you're struggling, but it's so important.
Definitely.
So when we were seriously struggling, like my husband applied for over 250 jobs. Wow. He got one lead and took it. Yeah. So, and I was scrambling because I couldn't just walk into work because you need to do this course and this course and this course, because I was teaching back then and I hadn't done that stuff because Ian was working and I was at home with the kids. So I wasn't working at that point. And so I sat down with Ian one night, who was struggling because we always worked. Always, like from when we were students together, we always worked. Yeah. And for him not being able to work it was really devastating to his mindset and self-esteem and well-being, because he was the provider of all these kids, and he's always been the the man of the house and all that sort of thing, because we used to have quite traditional roles back then. And I sat with him one night and I said to him, look, yes, things are pretty bleak at the moment, but I said there was a family that we were friendly with through school, and one of their boys was the same age as one of our boys, and he had a rare type of cancer, and he was really struggling, and he was sick, and they didn't know how he was going to go. And I said to my husband, we could put our problems in a hat with that family's problems, and I guarantee you we'd pick ours back out again.
Yeah. And that's
So
that
it's about
gratitude.
trying. It is, and it's trying to get perspective as well, And the biggest thing for me, when we were going through it, and 10.5 months, I can assure you, you feel every second of every minute of every hour of every day in that 10.5 months. It was like the longest year of our lives. But it was about just showing up every day, being grateful, looking for the lessons, looking for the growth, and just keep navigating through. Just keep going, keep showing up. And the biggest thing for me was, I was so terrified of losing the house that we'd worked so hard to build, because we came with pretty much nothing, and we built our lives with that. And once I let that go, I just thought, you know what, if we lose the house, we lose the house. There's nothing I can do about it. My kids are all healthy. We'll all be together. We're strong enough and we work hard enough that we will build our lives back up. Once I let go of that, things started to flow in.
And
so fear blocks you.
Yeah, that's, I'm obviously, possessions are something very important to us, but it's weird, really. Even in my book, I talk about what are the most important things to you, and these possessions never come up for anyone on my blog or anything like that. And I'm sure in your coaching, yet we feel this great fear of losing money or losing our house, and that security that comes with it. But like you said, family and having your health are the most important things. Yet I guess as society, we tend to focus on those things. And I guess even with my day job in finance, I'm finding that a lot of people, one of the positives some people have taken from this tough time with COVID is that a lot of people have written off where they're at, I guess, and just said, look, you know what, this year we might just have to do it tough, and we might have to sell our house or forget about some of those financial dreams we had for the short term. But there's an opportunity to do something different. There's an opportunity to try something you've always wanted to, but you haven't had the chance to. And I've seen that with, so obviously in Australia, we've got a fair bit of government support for people that are unemployed or are impacted financially, but obviously not all around the world do they get those same benefits. But that's what I've seen. Some people have gone back to study and they've said, you know what, I never had time to do this, or I never thought I would. It's always been a passion or a dream of mine, but because I've been too busy with this rat race of life, they haven't had that opportunity. So for me, this is some type of silver lining that people can take, that there is this opportunity to even reinvent yourself. I've heard a lot of people talk about how they would go out every week and they would have functions and go to dinner and do this and that. And COVID's actually been a bit of a break for them and a bit of a chance to realize what's actually important, who's important, and what they want to do with themselves coming out of COVID. So for me, I think it's a great opportunity for people to reflect on those things. And like you said, everyone's in this. So it's different to when you went through your challenges that, I don't want to say it was worse, but it was just you guys and you were seeing everyone else having this success. Whereas right now, a lot of these people that are in, the challenging times and the trenches, then they're in it together, and there's other people and there's governments and societies that are trying their best to pull people out. And for me, I would say to people, one thing to have hope on is that hopefully a vaccine or a cure or a new way of life is coming in the next 3 to 6 months, hopefully. And, we've already been 6 months through it, and now we're already starting to adjust. So if you can find a way to look towards the future and what you want your life to be when this is over, that's kind of a positive way to start manifesting what you want when this is all over.
Well, you can start manifesting now.
Yeah.
Every thought and plan and focus that we have now is creating our future selves.
100%.
So this is the time, as you say, to take a stock take and say, okay, let me evaluate where I'm going, where I've been, where do I want to go. This is a great opportunity for me to shift and go in a slightly different direction.
100%. I want to pivot from, or I guess digress and delve into that. As a life coach, one thing I say in my book is that there's nothing stopping you from literally recreating who you are right now. You could literally throw out your clothes, get a new sense of fashion, a new mindset, move to a different city or whatever it is you want to do with your family if you can, or, obviously it's a bit harder, but if you're single or just without a family, there's nothing stopping you from recreating yourself. Now, as a life coach, how do you see that play out with your clients? Do you see that sometimes there is something stopping people and it's harder than what I've just said? Or do you believe that people can actually, if they've got the will and the mindset, that they can change who they want to be and who they are?
Well, that's exactly why people come to see me. That's exactly why people work with me, because they want to reinvent themselves, but they can't, and they don't understand why they can't.
Yeah.
And, it comes down to programming. It comes down to our childhoods. It comes down to the expectations of those in our community around us. And, one of the biggest things, because I've reinvented myself several times.
Yes.
Okay. And it's not for the faint-hearted. You've got to be willing to let go of what you've got. And that also means people.
Yeah.
And that held me back for a long time, because I wanted to grow to the next level, the next level, the next level, embrace my power even more and go, do this, do that. But you know what? You end up having to leave people behind.
Mm-hmm.
And that stopped me for a while, because I cherish my connections and I'm very loving, and I love all of that. But in the end, because I was preventing myself from following my true path and embracing my power, etc., I had depression.
Yeah. 100%.
So I had amazing life, amazing kids, amazing husband, wonderful home, regardless of the redundancy, everything was going our way. I've always been a great manifester, so it's all going our way. But I knew at some level, as I started up leveling and I started recreating and I started, embracing my power and, reaching, my full potential, and then going for another full potential, I knew I was going to lose people.
Yeah.
And that's an inevitable part of growth.
It is
hard.
It is hard, because even I've found that with, as a young person, you find that your friendship groups are probably a bit more important, because as you get a bit older, I'm assuming anyway, that family takes a bit more of that, because now you've got that responsibility of looking after your children. And for me, it was challenging to kind of start spending more time with those that were more positive, in the sense that they were enriching how I felt. And unfortunately, it is challenging to do. But one thing I say as well is, it doesn't mean you don't have to stop loving those people or caring for them. It just means that, I guess, you spend less time with them, and or even for me, it was something that when I spent time with them changed as well. So if you've got a friend that, might be, I don't know, someone that drinks too much and you really enjoy their company, but you can't put yourself in that environment because you're going through these challenges and it's not good for you. Just change up when you see that person. So maybe instead of seeing them on a Saturday night, you go for coffee Saturday morning, or you see them during the week, do a gym session together or something like that. So sometimes it's also changing when you see people is another way that you can empower yourself to change.
I think it's important to be very mindful of who you're spending your time with, particularly if you're wanting to get to the next level, because it's all about energy.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
if you're spending time with somebody and you come away feeling completely drained and depleted, then you're going to have to start questioning, do I really want to be spending time with this person?
And
But
you might
as
not even
I've
be drained, Cathy. You might be pumped up still, but it's the wrong energy. It might be a negative energy or a challenging energy or a ego-based energy.
but I think, certainly as I've got older, um, I am on my path.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got some really beautiful, genuine connections. And that's brilliant for me,
Excellent.
and the right people stay and the right people go. And that whole cliche, reasons and seasons, and you be thankful for the part in your journey. And I have no animosity towards anybody that I've had in my life, even if they've caused me pain, because they gave me a lesson, because they made me grow. And in fact, the people that cause us pain are our best life coaches, because they poke and they push and they prod and they force you to evolve when you don't want to. So I mean, I had one particular person who made my life an absolute hell. When I had my last baby, I nearly died having Taya, and she was premature, and it was all very traumatic and painful. And there was one person in my life particularly who made that just like a million times worse, because I was at my lowest, I was super vulnerable, and this person was just awful, just like really awful to me, and made me just feel sick and just feel, I was just constantly stressed. But I look back now, and that person did me the biggest favor, because I thought, wow, I jumped through so many hoops for that person, trying to maintain this friendship, even though I was being treated really badly. And it brought me to the point that I thought, F it.
You can
I'm
swear
just
here
gonna,
if you like.
oh, that's a fine. I just don't know who's listening at the door. I'm going to just do what I want to do, because jumping through all of those hoops didn't keep that person in my life anyway.
Yeah.
So that was completely liberating for me.
Yes.
So if that person hadn't been such a dark, terrible, stressful force in my life, I wouldn't have had that realization. I wouldn't have started my business, and I wouldn't be where I am now.
Wow, there you go. Something negative really helped you manifest something positive.
Yeah, and this is about, the answers to our prayers, if prayers is what you want to call it, often come in ways that we're not expecting. Like and this was me. Like I've got 5 kids, right? It's like I'm running a ship of pirates that are about to mutiny at any minute. So I have to be like 2 steps ahead all the time, and it's go go go, and I've got to be super organized, and I've got to be super, to fit my business in, to fit meditation in, to fit everything. I need to have things going clockwork.
Yeah.
And it's about having that space and honoring it, and knowing that anything that comes through, I'm going to learn from it, I'm going to grow from it. And being true to yourself is so important. Like I honor my energy, my time, my mental well-being. I honor that so much now, because I know that when I don't do that, the whole house of cards falls down.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, for different people, it's different things. So sounds like for yourself, you need that routine of every day. This is how the clock's going to run. Whereas some other people, I'm sure you would say for them it's more being aware when things aren't going as well. They might not have 5 kids, so they can be a bit more, I guess, flexible. And when things aren't going well, that's when you need to step it up. That's when you've got to say, right, I'm going to meditate now twice a day. I'm going to get my diet right. Uh, for me, it's something that recognizing when you're starting to go down, or you're not at your best, that is a skill in itself that can really make a big difference. And tying in with that, how you mentioned, you kind of had it all back where you were before, but you weren't happy. And that's about, that meaning, that life you had wasn't what you wanted. Those friends, those connections weren't satisfying you and making you feel good. And for me, that's tying in with, like you said before, that you've recreated yourself several times. And I think people need to understand that you can recreate yourself. There's nothing stopping you, and get help if you need it. There's nothing wrong with getting help from a psychologist or a life coach, or owning this journey instead of just you can't just put it out there to the universe and take no action. It goes hand in hand. You have to put it out there and do the hard work, don't you?
But also it's about I mean, most people understand manifestation, that you ask and then you believe and then you receive. And most people ask and they know clearly what they want and they believe to an extent, but it's actually the receiving that they have trouble with, right? So that comes back down to the programming, the thoughts. And I always say to my clients, it's not the loud thoughts you want to be aware of, it's the whispers, right? So we unpack all of that, me and my clients. So that's where we go this deep dive and we look back all the way down to childhood. And, I've actually said to some clients, you're not ready to work with me yet. You need to go and see a psychologist.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what I mean? It's because clients' well-being is absolute paramount. That's the foremost, and I say that because I train coaches now in mindset. And I say that your first thing is duty of care. So if that person is not ready to work with you, you need to say, no, you need to go and see a counselor, or you need to go and see a psychologist. And I've had situations where I've worked alongside a psychologist, because even though I have psychology training, I'm not a psychologist, right?
Yeah.
So I've had my clients get a letter from their psychologist and say, yes, I'm in support of this person working with you and me at the same time. But, it's so important to address this stuff, and when I was training to be a hypnotherapist, the power of the mind is astounding. Like, they used to use hypnotherapy on the battlefield to amputate limbs.
Wow.
Right? So we need to understand that what's going on in our minds is crucial.
Yes.
And we need to make time for mental health, mental well-being. Then, I say to my clients, this is a daily practice, okay? And it's not a chart to be ticked and go, oh man, I missed today, that means I'm failing. It's it's doing whatever self-care looks like for you. So it's not hours and hours of meditating necessarily. It's not that you don't have to, follow what everybody else is doing. You need to define what well-being means for you and make sure you're incorporating that into your day. And whether that's a busy mum, I've got friends that have got 8 and 9 kids. So my household is quite quiet.
What's going on with you and your friends?
I know. Yeah, not Fontelli apparently. But if it's sitting, outside with a cup of hot chocolate for 10 minutes, just zenning out, whatever it is, but to prioritize yourself, and to understand that, putting yourself first means that you can abundantly give to others. Yeah. Okay. And the thing about control, because I do, that's what I was going to say earlier, was I have been a bit of a control freak because my circumstances have sort of put me in that position. But what I realized with the law of attraction was I was asking, believing, and then trying to dictate to the universe how to give it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah.
So at the point where you go, I'm just gonna, there's a million different ways this can come to me. And once you surrender and just let go of that, miracles rush in. It's incredible.
Yeah.
You know, so it's about not trying to manipulate everything and everyone and trying to force yourself down a road, because the roads that I've gone down, I could never have possibly predicted. Never.
No, I love that. And oh, we're running out of time. There's one more thing I want to ask you. And I guess, yeah, so you obviously do a lot of work with women in leadership and with young teens, and you've got your empowering your teens courses and things you do. I guess, what are just some of those things you can say to people that, some of those teens or women that don't feel empowered right now, and they may feel hopeless with everything going on, and there's even climate change anxiety amongst young people. There's so many different anxieties. What would you say to them, and in particular women, that they can do to empower themselves?
I think it's really important to recognize and own what is within your control.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because anxiety happens when we're worrying about stuff that's outside of our control, and the what ifs, some things might never happen, and we need to pull all of that right back and go from macro to micro for this particular thing and go, okay, what is within my control here? So, particularly for teens and tweens, so sort of 12 onwards, they're told what to do by school, they're told what to do by their parents, they're told what to do by society. Do you know what I mean? That they can seem very powerless in that situation. But one of the things that I highlight in my course is young people who have literally changed the world.
Yeah. Wow.
So when you feel like you haven't got a voice, you have got a voice.
Yeah.
How are you going to use it? What is within your control? Is it writing a letter? Is it writing a blog? Is it starting a YouTube channel, putting out positivity in the world? Is it donating to a charity? Is it raising money for a charity? Is it highlighting an issue? I don't know, because it depends what cause that is for that person. But the ripple effect of individuals and acts of direct, focused, positive, whatever it is, the ripple effect can never be measured. Okay, so you've got one of the things I highlight in my course is this guy called Ryan, and when he was about 6 years old, 6 or 7, he found out that kids in Africa didn't have water. So in a nutshell, he started raising money in his community. He raised a couple of $100, and now he's got a foundation, Ryan's Wells.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was from a 6-year-old.
Yeah. And
so
that's the perfect example of taking action. Like, you visualize, you believe, and then you have to put the action in.
And also tuning into your intuition. So it's that nudge of, I need to talk to this person, I need to work with this person, I need to attend this thing, I need to do this, I need to do that. And it's that intuitive nudge. And like for me, I wanted to work with one of the top transformational leaders of the world. And I'm a village girl, right? I'm a hobbit from the Shire. So I was, how am I going to do that? And I'm stuck home with these 5 kids, which I love, but I very rarely leave the house. So how am I going to work with this international superstar leader? And I just did what I did. I put it on my vision board. 2 years later, I'm working for it. I'm on his steering for one of his organizations.
Oh, wow.
So it works, right?
Yeah.
But did I believe? I believed in the possibility. That's what I believed in. I didn't believe, he's going to know my name and I'm going to be working with him. I believed in the possibility that could happen.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, I'm on his steering council. Yeah. So it's amazing. Do you know what I mean? But it's just, I say to some of my clients that work with me, don't believe in the law of attraction, and that's fine. And they say, do we have to do that to work with you? And I say, no, you don't have to. I've got plenty of boring qualifications for you to rely on. But, I say, with the law of attraction, it's working whether you believe it or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're not in a place that you actually believe it yet, just suspend your disbelief, just be neutral, and it will work just as effectively.
Yeah. And I guess just a final thought on that, that there is no consequence for believing and putting something out there and believing that it can happen. There's nothing wrong or going to work against you if you put it out there. So, whilst, you don't have to manifest and have that mindset, I just think that it's something really that can give you that goal and something to move towards. But yeah, Cathy, look, not sure if you've got any final things you wanted to add, but it's been a great conversation, and I love how you opened up, and I'm sure through people listening to this as well, they'll know how there's always two sides. Like, everyone deals with these challenges, even the most successful people such as yourself. So thank you for coming on, and I'll put all your details in the show notes, and wish you all the best for the future.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks for having me. Great conversation.
So that was my interview with Cathy Domoney. You can find out more about Cathy in the show notes. What I loved about Cathy in the interview was how she opened up about her own challenges with anxiety and depression, and how that actually helped her lead into the life that she lives today. So thanks for listening, and I hope you can join me for the next episode.